Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing a book review of Sorry to Disrupt the Peace by Patty Yumi Cantrell, and I read this book last week, 2 weeks ago, and it comes in at 263 pages. It is literary fiction, and it is a piece of literature that I really enjoyed. It discusses mental health and suicide. So the premise of this book is there is a young girl named Helen, and she receives a phone call while waiting for a couch to be delivered that her brother has committed suicide. And in a moment of sheer panic and chaos, she decides she is going to go home to Milwaukee, where she was born and raised, and she is going to be the support and love and sunlight that her parents need to overcome this tragedy. And she is going to be the reason that they're getting out of bed in the morning, and she's going to be everything that they need, and she's going to do it all perfectly. Helen is a really interesting character. I found that Helen was probably one of the hardest characters I've read in a long time to love and to find sympathy with. I found her really, really frustrating as a character and really, really intensely infuriating. She was really, really hard to cope with. She spends all of her time doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, and acting in the wrong way, and continually making these mistakes that are just so hard to comprehend as plausible that you just spend all your time angry and frustrated with her. I really found that her parents were infuriating as well, though. They really didn't understand that the way that she was coping with her brother's suicide was to be a little bit more aggressive and in your face and unwavering and so much more intense. And that was really, really hard to read, was this parent and this child just missing each other like ships in the night and not understanding one another and being very unsympathetic and unsupportive of one another. And that was really, really difficult to kind of fathom and feel for. The characters in this book, in general, were really hard to like and really hard to understand. I felt that this was a really, really well done book. I gave it 4 stars. I felt as if it could have been a 5-star read. I don't know what didn't give me 5 stars on it. To be honest with you, I went into it and I feel like I couldn't give it 5 stars because Helen infuriated me so much, and because I felt so aggravated and frustrated and overwhelmed by Helen and her behavior. I just felt so much like she was causing more trouble than she was helping. And that was a really hard place to be, because I myself have several different types of experience with suicide. So everything from experiencing suicidal ideation, to experiencing suicide firsthand, to experiencing the loss of a friend through suicide. So I've had 4 or 5 distinct moments in my life where suicide has been a prevalent and daily thing in my life, and kind of faced me with these really awful memories and ideas and thoughts that are really scary and really overwhelming. And to have the experience of getting that phone call where somebody you love has died of suicide is an experience that you really can't replicate, and you really can't decidedly explain to anybody. It's almost it's one of the worst phone calls you can receive. And so I've had that phone call, and so I know that moment of panic and that moment of, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? what happened? Why did it happen? Where did it happen? What do you mean? Like, what am I supposed to do with this information? How do I even process this? And that moment of conversation is just so seared in my memory as a moment that I know very well, that to read it through Helen's perspective was just heart-wrenching and really difficult to swallow. And it felt so frustrating to watch her have all those moments of thought that I myself had, that were so unhelpful in the end, and so just really unhelpful. And overall, I felt that this story was really, really well done, and it touched on some really important facts about suicide and some really important feelings that come along with suicide that you very frequently are unable to put into words and to communicate to another person who hasn't crossed that line of dealing with suicide in some format or another. This book was triggering to me. It made me feel a lot of emotions that brought up a lot of feelings of my own contemplation of suicide and my own memories of witnessing suicide firsthand, and also the phone call that I received of a friend of mine who committed suicide. So it brought up a lot of feelings and a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas that really presented this really difficult thing to fathom and this really hard book to swallow. And it made it so that it was really awkward to read and really hard to read. And I found myself throwing this book across the room halfway through just because I was so angry and so filled with frustration and despair. And I just wanted to shake Helen and tell her, you just need to calm down. Just calm down and things will be okay. I promise. Just calm down. And at the same time, you know, I wanted to shake her parents and be like, she's grieving. You just need to understand she's grieving. Just let her grieve. Let her have these feelings. Let her have these panics. Let her have these emotional responses. And those two sides of me were so conflicted and so hard to understand and to soothe each other that it became this really difficult situation to kind of process and read. But overall, it was really, really beautiful and really well done. I highly recommend this book. I think it's really excellent. I think that anyone who has an experience with suicide, whether it be personal or external or sort of ideas of, or you know, whatever, I think this will be a triggering book, and I think it will bring up a lot of feelings and emotions. But I think it's good, and I think it's cathartic, and I think it's a really interesting story to process, and a really interesting idea to kind of go over in your mind and to let kind of sit with yourself and go through and dissect. I definitely recommend this book. I think it is really well written, really wonderful. 4 stars, really solid. I don't know what it could have done to get 5 stars. I don't think that it did anything wrong. I think I was just so uncomfortable the whole way through that I didn't know how to give it 5 stars. So yeah, I definitely recommend this, and I think it's great. I highly warn everyone though that it does have some really triggering situations in it that are really heart-wrenching and hard to process, and I definitely want everyone to be aware of that just before going into it, just because it's hard to go into that, and it's hard to process and deal with. So yeah, those are my thoughts, and I hope you guys liked this. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, click that subscribe button down below. If you have any questions, comments, or quandaries, go ahead and comment down below in the comment box, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.